Nothing could have prepared me for what happened on my first trip. I did everything that y'all are always telling me to do to stay safe. I picked a very well lit location, a 24-hour place with a lot of activity. I saw law enforcement officers around. I backed into the space so that I could pull away easily, quickly if I needed to, but that didn't keep this from happening. Recently, I took my first big solo road trip, and I mean big, like over 10 hours big. The first time that I've been on the road by myself in the van for such a long trip. This trip was a little over 11 hours going from Atlanta, Georgia to Elkhart, Indiana. And on my way, so I was making good progress, making good time, rolling right along, didn't really run into any traffic, just light road work, all is well. I made it past the halfway point, which was my goal. I was planning to spend the night in maybe Louisville, maybe Indianapolis, but I had enough energy to keep going, and so I ended up driving north of Indianapolis. And when I stopped to get gas in a place called Tipton, I stopped to get gas, and I said, hey, I might as well settle in for the night. I had less than 3 more hours to drive to make it to Elkhart, and so I said, okay, this is a good stopping point. I've already fueled up. Let me go ahead and get some rest. Read books about solo RVing or solo van life. Read the books, read the blogs, all the things that people tell you to do for safety. I feel like I was checking all the boxes. So, I talked to one of my RVing friends while I was on the way there. I told him I was planning to stop at a Planet Fitness, and he said, why would you stop there? Why don't you stop at a truck stop? He didn't know Planet Fitness was open 24 hours. I was thinking, hey, I can go, I can work out, I can take a shower, do whatever I need to do. But it just so happens that on that fuel stop, it was a truck stop. And I said, hey, okay. When I get off the highway exit, right across the street from the truck stop, there is a county sheriff park. And I said, okay, there's a sheriff right there. The truck stop, it wasn't quite dark yet, but it was getting dark. The truck stop was very well lit, all these bright lights, all the bright lights that I hate when I'm trying to sleep. They're all there. I fueled up, so I did everything I had to do, and I saw this was one of the smaller ones, so there were parking spaces around the fuel pumps, and so I found one. I parked. It was nobody else around, so I backed into this space. They always say, be sure that you park in a way that you can just pull out and go if you need to. So I backed into the space so I could see, what was going on in front of me, and behind me was basically like a small field of grass. There was nobody on either side of me. Like the spaces right next to where I was were both empty. Now I parked, and I told you it was getting dark. It was, about to be nighttime. So when I parked, nobody next to me, but in the time that I was sitting there, I had the windows open, I had the doors open, letting the van cool off. A truck pulled in on one side, and a car pulled in on the other side. So, the van cools down. I'm ready to go to sleep. I close all the doors. I close all the windows. I lock the van. All right, I lock the doors, and then I go to bed, do my nightly routine. All is well. Wake up the next morning, and it is early, but it's bright. It's summertime. The sun comes up early. So this is probably around 6:30 in the morning. I wake up and, just want to check my surroundings. I pull my window shade open to look out. Nothing could have prepared me for what I saw when I opened that window shade. I opened the window shade, and he's over there with no shirt, but he had pants on, but he still had his junk hanging out of his pants. So I'm in disbelief, because also when I opened the window shade, I saw him taking a baby wipe bath. So he had a baby wipe in his hand, and I could see him wiping off. All right, fine. He even had a household scrub brush, probably about this long. He put the baby wipe on the end of the brush and used it to wipe his back. And I was really surprised. We're at a truck stop. Not just a truck stop, but a truck stop that has showers. So he could have paid to take a shower there. And even if he didn't want to pay to take a shower, he could have gone and done a bird bath in the bathroom, wash up in the sink or something. And so I'm just in disbelief, what is happening? And so I grabbed my phone, and I started to document this, because I don't want any trouble later or anything. And I'm I'm not sure, really, what is happening. So I go and I think I do something else, and I come back and look out the window again, and he has now put a shirt on, but he opened the door to the truck and basically kicked, his legs out. He wasn't fully out of the truck, but he opened the door to the truck and basically turned as if he was going to get out, but he still had all his junk out. Like, he had a shirt on, he had pants on, but all of this junk is out. And even if he didn't know I was in here, even if he didn't know there was a woman in the van next to him, I don't know if he heard my voice the night before. I'm pretty sure he didn't see me because I didn't get out of the van that night. I did not get out of the van from the time he parked, so he didn't see me. My window is kind of tinted, but not fully tinted, so maybe he did see it. But there is no way he could deny that somebody was in this van. Like, it's in the very next spot, so somebody is in here. And so for him to have his junk facing me in my van, it's like, okay, I don't think it was intentional, but I really don't know. And at this point, I am not afraid. I'm not really offended. I'm just like trying to figure out what is going on and why he's doing this. And then once I started to look a little closer, he had a lot of trash in the truck. It was a lot of stuff in there, like old fast food cups and just stuff, like everything except for where he was sitting. Everything was just kind of piled up. And that just kind of let me know that, he lives in that truck. And because, he was out there taking a baby wipe bath instead of going inside the truck stop, makes me believe, he probably has some mobility issues. So he's living in the truck, possibly has mobility issues. And then, this is not even 7 in the morning. This is like 6:30 in the morning. I see him eating Milk Duds. He's got a box of Milk Duds. I see him eating those. And then a little while later, I see him eating one of those like chocolate Swiss rolls with the cream. And so it's like not even 7 a.m. So I'm like, okay, maybe he's food insecure. This truck stop also had, I think it was a Hardee's. So I am not afraid. I don't feel threatened, but I do start to feel really sad and sympathetic because, he's experiencing this. Now, none of this excuses or explains why he's got his junk out. I finally step out of the van to throw some trash away. I made a little video to document the scene because I wanted everybody to see that I did everything that I was supposed to do to be safe. I backed in, there was nobody right next to me, it was well lit. I called one of my friends and he said that I need to just leave. I need to just get out of there. And when I got back on the highway to leave, as soon as I got back on the highway, there was a city police officer on both sides of that exit. So there are law enforcement officers all around at night and in the morning, and still this happens. I'm at a well-lit truck stop. Still doesn't keep the man from exposing himself. I backed in so that I could pull away easily. That still didn't keep the man from exposing himself. So thankfully, we didn't have any interaction. Nothing happened. Like I said, he didn't threaten me. He didn't say anything to me. I'm not even sure if he was aware that I, as a woman, was right there. So I wanted you to see the scene and hear the story and hear about what happened. I mean, this is my first big trip. Like, I knew, there are some dangers. People are always warning me to be safe, but I didn't expect anything to happen on my very first trip, the very first morning of my very first trip. So I don't know what else I could have done. I'm curious what you would have done. Maybe you have some ideas or suggestions. Let me know what you would do differently and how you ensure your own safety on the road.